Hello, I'm Jessica Purnell. This is my EDC 1200 multimedia presentation addressing the question, how might education mediate difference and dominance? The presentation is broken into two sections. Part 1, the issue, which explores the notions of difference and dominance of the issue in modern Australian society. And Part 2 is the issue as curriculum, which addresses how the issue can be taught in the school curriculum from the perspective of collective and individual identity, difference, dominance, and diversity. An issue that is evident in modern Australian society is racism, but in particular, racism against Australian Aborigines. The article Racism in Australia from the ANZAR website reveals facts and insightful stories about the racism which Australian Aborigines face in modern society on a daily basis. The facts include information and statistics which signify the severity of racism which still exists. This article provides clear examples of difference and dominance in regards to the axes of identity of race and class due to the evidence of white ethnocentrism. The events described in Racism in Australia Facts portray obvious concerns of difference and dominance in negative manners. The dominance throughout the article is evidently the white people who don't accept diversity from what they consider normal, which is white. This enforces the discourse of enrichment and the fact that dominant culture just exists. The difference of race is significant due to the white relational attitude towards Aborigines and assumptions of their qualities. The difference would be considered at its binary oppositions with no consideration of the zone of difference. In these cases, the white people didn't contain any cultural tolerance, but the Aborigines were expected to when they were being discriminated against and considered as a deficit. Whiteness is a system and ideology of white dominance that marginalises and oppresses people of colour, ensuring existing privileges for white people. This quote enforces the connection between race and class, which is also evident throughout the article. The dominance of class is obvious in one particular event. This was of 16 Indigenous people, including children, being removed from a motel due to the tourists being afraid of Aborigines. The dominance of class was emphasised by the tourists being privileged over the Aborigines as they were thought to have more money. The difference and binary opposition assumed in this situation is that Aborigines are poor and tourists are wealthy. This article emphasises that Australia's community identity of being multicultural and accepting of diversity is in fact far from the truth. The issue of dominance and difference in race has vital relevance in Australian modern society. Racism is still current even after the events such as reconciliation. In order for students to gain an understanding of the severity of the issue of racism, they need to explore dominance and diversity in regards to their experiences and identity. The following lesson provides activities which will assist in the development of this comprehension. The prerequisite knowledge required for this lesson is the historical events that occurred before and after the European invasion, development of understanding of the Indigenous perspective, and the traditional Aboriginal culture. This lesson would be a part of the unit of Culture and Identity, which would explore the following knowledge and understanding. Materials and non-material elements influence personal identity and a sense of belonging of groups. Perceptions of different cultures and groups are influenced by local, national and world events and by representations in the media. Contact between Indigenous and non-Indigenous cultures in Australia and other places have had significant effects on language, culture, land ownership, health and education of Indigenous people. In the introduction of the lesson, I would investigate students' prior knowledge by asking questions such as, what do you think dominant means? What do you think marginalised means? And what do you think difference means? The class would read through the article Racism in Australia Facts. To develop students' understanding, the article would be explored in terms of dominant, marginalised, and different. To develop and apply new knowledge during the enhancing phase of the lesson, Students are to reflect on events where they considered themselves to be different or marginalised and dominant in accordance to their race. These activities will be recorded in their exercise books and collected to check understanding. Through a short discussion, difference and distance will be explored by asking questions such as, how were you and the other person different in your event? To further enhance the students' understanding of race and difference, a discussion would be conducted on the significance of the diversity of race. To conclude the lesson, the class is to reflect on how it felt to be marginalised or to be in a dominant position. That's if some students had experienced both or either of those. To develop the students' appreciation, a discussion would be conducted regarding recognising differences and appreciating what we have in common. In conclusion, to reinforce the understanding and appreciation of difference, the following clip will be played, which is Reconciliation Australia, Fresh Eyes.
10 years ago, over 300,000 Australians
registered their support
for reconciliation
by walking as one
over the Harbour Bridge.
It was a momentous gesture of unity.
But at its heart,
true reconciliation
isn't just about the past.
It isn't just about history.
It's about moving forward.
It's about recognising that we all have a valid point of view,
however different it may be.
It's about celebrating what makes us different,
as much as
defending what we have in common.
Common.
So let's not get stuck in the past.
Let's start seeing things with fresh eyes.
Join us at
unfinishedoz.com.au
and let's finish what we started.
The incorporation of the article Racism in Australia Facts would be successful in building students' understanding of dominance and difference. It allows students to relate to prior knowledge to further their understanding of dominance and difference as a concept of identity within a community and as an individual. The reflection activity allows students to develop an understanding of not just their identity through race, but also how they may be different and how others may be different to them. It also encourages students to recognise that dominance is a major concept in the identity axis of race, and it is present in modern society. In future lessons, this will assist students to collectively respect the zone of difference and develop tolerance to diversity and race. Through the exploration of race, students can develop an understanding of how whiteness is privileged in Australian society and any other race is marginalised. These factors are essential to educating students about the existence of ethnocentrism and dominance in society and how to shorten the distance between differences in race.